Thanks for joining us. We are here with Bill Drastal. We're here at Cartoon Everything podcast, season 1. We're connected to our Cartoon Everything workshop that we do in the summertime. I'm Christian Meesimo Meesi. I'm here with
Kelly Light
and the lovely and talented Bill Drastal.
Hey, hey.
It's so cool to have you here. It's so nice to meet you. I have never met you before, although I've picked up little tidbits about you from Chris. So I'm really excited to talk to you today about your own cartoony background.
Thank you. Yeah, Kelly, this is a pleasure meeting you for the first time too. All I've ever known, is just tidbits from Meesy. So we're in the same boat.
Well, I wanted you both to meet because you're awesome cartoonists and cartoony cartoonists in your own right. And I feel like you both would enjoy each other's work, but also probably have a lot of overlap as far as inspirations and influences, Do you remember the first time you were blown away by some artwork as a kid?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to give away that my memory is not that great.
Just fake it.
Just fake it. God, I remember always being, I was that kid back in grade school, middle school. I was a huge Calvin and Hobbes fan. I had all his books, and I just took them everywhere with me. And I was probably they're like, oh, there's that nerd who likes Calvin Hobbes. I'm like, yes, I like Calvin Hobbes. Don't you touch my Calvin Hobbes books. And God, I was from a young age. I was even putting paper on top and tracing. He'd have this really cool pterodactyl drawing or T-Rexes and F-15s or something like that. And I was like, that is super cool. I gotta find out how to draw that or do that. So I'd sit there, trace it or something like that, or try and figure out how he did it. Not very well, but yeah, I think Watterson's work was very much very influential for me. And then of course my dad had a huge collection of comic books, and he had he didn't have the usual comic stuff like Marvel superheroes, but he had Donald Duck, Carl Barks Donald Duck, and Uncle Scrooge comics, and peppered in with aliens and Batman versus Predator kind of stuff. So it's a bit of silliness and adventure, and then guts and gore and violence. And it's I poured over his comic books. He's always take care of my comic books. I'm just gonna read them, and then I probably didn't take good care of them.
So where did you grow up? Did you grow up in California? You live in California now, but did you grow up there?
I live in California now. I grew up in San Diego, California.
Okay.
Yeah, although originally not born in San Diego. I was born in New York, but then I was a year old. My parents moved out to San Diego, so it's technically not born in San Diego, but that's where I grew up. Grew up in San Diego.
So was it a culture clash when you had to adjust from New York to San Diego at 1?
I'm sure, yes. I'm sure. I really had to give up that accent. I was like, "Where's my pizza? Where's my?" Who's gonna get me a bagel?
Or your diaper, yeah.
Because I'm so far removed from that city where it's what's he talking about? No, I definitely grew up. I've got that Southern California kind of dude, surfer. I'll even say dude a lot. That's kind of I definitely absorbed the Southern California chill out kind of culture that I grew up in.
So you were getting into Calvin and Hobbes early on and trying to draw your own, figuring out how Watterson drew it. Were you making any of your own comics at that point, or trying to?
No. So I was always drawing as a kid. That I think was just the way for me to just kind of stay busy. I was getting into Calvin Hobbes, just constantly doodling in notebooks. I'm sure if you found an old math notebook of mine, it'd be a few equations and then Spider-Man drawings or Calvin Hobbes drawings or just doodles. It's funny because later on when I went to college, I would doodle my notes, and actually I found that as a great way for me to remember stuff, because I find I remember what I've drawn more than what I've heard. So it's So like I'll be taking notes and then I'll draw something. Like I was just at WonderCon last weekend and going to a bunch of panels. I was sitting there sketching people and then also like writing down what they said, and yeah, just to discover that that was a great way for me to just retain that information, because just for me, yeah, drawing was just something I always did. I always loved doodling, and then I was a way for me, I think, to stay focused in class while I was doing classwork, and yeah, just mindlessly finding like, oh hey, what's this? This looks interesting. This looks interesting, and going with that.
I think that's fascinating because I have the same exact like processing situation since I'm a kid. If I'm drawing while I'm listening, I'm absorbing. If I have to sit and just sit there and not have a pencil and a paper in my hand, I can take notes, but I have to be drawing while I take the notes. And yeah, so I have the same situation. Like I will retain things as if I can like actually like sit and doodle while I'm listening. Yeah.
I'm the same way. Like I don't get it. I don't like. I'm sure there's something to do with ADHD or ADD or something like that. I'm sure people are probably like, oh my god, that's exactly what it is. And yeah, it's just something. Yeah, like if I'm sitting down looking at a sketchbook or drawing, retain that. Or if I think it's because you process when you're drawing, you're processing stuff around you. Either it's like stimuli that you're feeling or that you're seeing, and you process it through your brain, and then to output it in a way like cartoony or any way, those are a lot of connections you have to make to do that. And
so growing up in San Diego and being somebody who loved comic strips, specifically Bill Watterson and your dad's comic book collection, when was it that you decided that this was something that you actually wanted to pursue, that art was your jam? And like, was there a moment when you were like, yeah, this is what I want to do? I want to get serious about drawing.
I would say it was probably high school that this is something I want to do, like seriously. I'd had a lot of experiences, kind of like you're good at this, or art is something that that hey, you're showing some talent, or you're showing some progress in this, but it was never something I really thought like, oh, this is something I can do for a job, or this is something that like I really want to do. I think at that point, I wanted to get in, like I still wanted to do something creative. I think I wanted to get into like movie effects at the time or something like that, because that seemed like a lot of fun and really cool. But yeah, it was definitely high school, because that was at the point where I was taking art classes for not the first time, but like really more serious art classes at the high school level. And the art teacher I had, she was like, no, your stuff is good. Like, I think at that point I was drawing a lot of anime, so I don't think she was happy with the content that I was doing. Like, she was noticing that I was doing well at painting and utilizing shapes and forms and other things like that. And so she was kind of like, hey, this is something, maybe you should be pay more attention to or get into more. And yeah, I think that's when I was like, hey, you know what? I really do enjoy this. I really like, because I was just drawing all the time. And at that point too, everyone was coming to me with like art. Like if there was something they could do for like extra credit or art, they'd be like coming to me on the slide, like, hey, can you draw this for me? And like if I draw it, you're gonna know it's from me. It's not gonna get you a grade. But yeah, that was definitely high school. That was like, hey, art's something that I'm good at. I should pursue this more.
Cool. So what kind of anime were you into then? Seeing your work, like in general, everybody knows your current stuff, that probably wouldn't be their first guess that you were into anime or had gone through that period.
I can't remember. That was like, it feels like a lifetime ago. I know I was big into like Dragon Ball Z at the time. I think Cowboy Bebop had just come out too. It was a friend of mine in high school who was also in anime, but he was the one that was always buying it, and so it was always like, oh, what's he got? What's he showing me? And it was after high school. It was when I got into caricatures at SeaWorld, was when I really like moved away from anime. And I think really like, because I'd always loved like also like Saturday morning cartoons, and growing up, especially Disney cartoons, like classic, like old timey, like Goofy and Mickey and stuff like that. And so that it was getting into caricature, and when I was working at SeaWorld doing caricatures, I was surrounded by, it wasn't just like, I think because I came from high school where I was one of like the only people who were like big in art. Like there were other art kids and stuff like that, but it was like being surrounded by other people who, one, loved cartoons, but also two, like, were just like, to me, some of the best artists in the world. They were my peers. And that was like, holy cow, I need to one, I want to learn how they're doing what they're doing, but also yeah, this is what I want to do. I don't like the anime stuff, like I kind of like left behind. Like at that point too, I was also going to school for animation, but it was like I was seeing like, oh no, this is what it takes for animation to work, and this is what it takes for cartooning. And it was kind of like, okay, I need to change a lot of things here. I want to change some stuff up. I want to find something that works for me. And then also, so I was trying, I think for a while I was trying to take the work I was doing, caricatures, and then the work I was doing for like my animation classes, I think I was trying to like merge the two.
Mm-hmm.
Because they felt like different worlds at the time, because this was Commons art shops in like, 2000, 2001, SeaWorld, and I was working with some really good artists. And
who else was there at that time?
Oh gosh, I was there with like Brian Morante, Rick Davis. Gosh, it's gonna kill me that I can't remember all these names. Gabe
Brian Morante, another animator and amazing cartoonist.
And Brian and I, we became friends like overnight, because he also wanted to do animation. And so I think from there it was kind of like we were kind of like each pushing each other, like oh hey, did you see this or did you see that? And then kind of like I'd see him draw something and I'd be like, oh wow, and then like we kind of like one up him, and like that was kind of the culture that was at SeaWorld, was kind of like a bit of a friendly competition of like, because we were all around like the same level. Like I know Brian had been there a little bit longer than I have, and there's some artists that were a little more veteran than me, but we were all around like the same, close to the same age, I think same skill levels. So there was always like a bit of fun, like, well, this is what you're drawing, and this is what you're drawing, and oh, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And that really, I think, was just a great atmosphere to just kind of like, okay, let's turn it up a notch. Let's really have some fun here. Let's really push the boundaries of what we can do. And then we had some transplants from Virginia. I think it was Todd Parkhill, Joey Mason, and Johnny Breedis. They all came over from doing characters in King Dominion, and Todd brought in a whole new thing, because he was now teaching it. He has started his own independent comics company, and so all of us at SeaWorld were like, we gotta get in this, like he was like, here, do a comic for me here, do a comic for me there. And that was like, now like we weren't even caring about like drawing customers anymore. We're just like, okay, get rid of this customer so we can quickly work on the comic that Todd gave us or something like that. So that was a really, like, yeah, for me, that was, God, because I was at SeaWorld for about 5 years, from 2001 to 2005 ish, because I got married in 2006. And those years were like, those were I think the most formative for me, for like just the art I was doing. And I wish I had some samples, because you would really see just like from year one, where everything I drew was just the worst, to like the final year I was there, and I was like, I knew what I was doing, I was fully confident, like, yeah, it was like total transformation. That's where I think I did the most growing as a cartoonist, was those 5 years.
So for the people who watch the podcast and don't know, so you and Chris met at Universal Studios.
Right.
That's what, right? So you are both professional caricature artists with this long history of pumping out hundreds of drawings per day of work. So you have both probably together drawn 2 million drawings, like in your careers. More?
Yeah,
More than that?
I think I've drawn 2 million. I know Chris has been doing caricatures a lot longer than I have, so you're probably what, like 10 million by now, like
give or take,
give or take.
Yeah.
Stop counting after the first million.
So what's fascinating is, right, so your trajectory is you decided at some point that you wanted to go to school and study animation. So there's so much crossover in cartoons and cartooning between people who make comics and people who make animation and people who do caricature or even people who do children's books. There's almost like there's a surface, and then you scratch below the surface, you see how many people have done multiple things with cartooning skills. So just so that everybody knows that when we get into this rolling discussion, which I know is just going to keep going, that the way that you guys know each other is that you're almost like that whole band of brothers kind of feeling that when you guys are in your world of these professional caricatures, that people have gone from place to place. And you have overlapping like professional careers. You've worked together and then you go out and you work apart, but then you might come back together again. So it's almost like a network of this industry of professional caricatures that I think even I did not know was as fascinating until I got to know Chris. You know, I know they're out there. I did caricatures after college. Yeah. But
I didn't know you did
I didn't do it at a theme park. I did it through a party service at very wealthy.
If anything, that's probably lucky of you. The theme
Yeah.
parks are brutal. I'm only 35. My only gray hairs are actually like I feel like I look older than I am, but
it's so cool. Like and again, like you can drop a bunch of names and you know who they are. You know, because of that like network of people. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's a surprisingly small and pretty well connected industry, you know, like where we have have you ever gone to the ISCA conventions at all?
I have not gone to the ISCA conventions. I need to go to one. I think at the time when I was in caricature, I was like, I don't want to do one of those. And now I'm like, I should probably do one.
I think you should. It'd be a blast, partially just because of how small the world is of caricature. You would walk in the room and 50 people would already know who you are, and you would know, at least by name and their work, you would know most of the people there, at least by reputation, or, you know, or at least be able to tell who trained them. Be like, oh, that's a Tom Richmond student over there. That's a Commons, you know, pupil over there. So that's Fazen. It's like any of these schools of styles, you can kind of see like, oh yeah, I can see who they trained with.
Yeah, that's been the craziest thing, especially because recently I have gotten back into doing caricatures with everyone from Sketched and then Quick Draw, and getting together with everyone at Quick Draw was a trip, because it was not just getting together with people from Quick Draw, it was getting together with old workers from SeaWorld as well. So it was like my church friends and my biker friends getting together and saying hi. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's crazy how that world is connected, but also it's so small, because it's like it's a skill that takes, and I'm not trying to like make it seem like, oh, you have to be like the coolest person in the world to do caricatures. But it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to feel that way. It's a skill that I think it's hard for artists to do, because artists we're our own worst critics, and when you're drawing it live, everyone is staring over your shoulder. You have to reveal it live to people, and that is hard to do. That is very hard to do, and it takes some time to build up either the confidence or the armor of not caring what people think. And not everyone can do that, and that's just totally fine. It's okay that not everyone can do that.
But if you can get over that hump, then you can draw anything, anywhere, pretty quickly. At any time. So it's nice to kind of have gone through that, you know, gauntlet, because I feel like it's tougher to go the other way. If you're already an animator or already a comic artist, it's tough to go back somehow, or tough to go into caricature, especially in a live setting, if you're already kind of established. But everybody I know that's come up through caricature, whether they're working on animation or comics, they have that kind of built in where they can, if they have to do a quick sketch on the spot, they can always bang out something cool, you know.
Just be like, oh, all right, here it is. There you go.
Yeah.
And there it is.
Now, I know you've always had animation aspirations, and we're already doing animation stuff a little bit when I first met you. Did you do storyboards, like, specifically ever, or did you go right into animating? Like, how did you first get into it?
Oh my goodness. So yeah, I went to I think when I met you, I had just graduated school. So what happened was I was in college in San Diego, and that's where met my wife, and we got married. And we got married just after we graduated, and I think it was around 2007. I want to say is when we moved up to LA, and that's when I went and started working at Universal. And I think you were there, Chris. I think that was when you were there. And boy, when I thought I was hot shit, then I met Chris, and I was like, oh, okay, I need to.
I think many of us feel that way. Yeah.
Well, like you're saying, not to interrupt you, but that makes me think about working with you at Universal. You're always fun to work with because, like you're saying, working with Brian or working with people in San Diego at SeaWorld, it's like iron sharpens iron. So you work with another artist that you respect and you want to impress them or you want to learn from them. I remember having a blast with you, just doing memory sketches during slow times. We'd see somebody walking by, like, all right, draw that person. Like that's the kind of stuff that keeps it fresh, keeps it fun.
It's honestly, I think it's one of the best things that you can do for yourself as an artist is get together with other artists and draw. To segue into my Draw Palapalooza, but honestly, like that's one of the best things I think that art does that you can't get anywhere else, is because you can get together with friends, and it's like that's why I love getting together with you, Meesimo, for like doing the conventions or anything like that. Because a lot of times when I'm home, I don't do a lot of drawing for myself, just because I'm busy. I'm a dad. I got work. There's a whole bunch of stuff. But on these trips and stuff, I can relax. I can get together with Meesimo. We can go draw. We can sketch. And when you're stuck with someone at a caricature booth for 8 hours and you have that, I mean, it's a retail job. You're sitting there bored. And then it's like, hey, let's play a game. Let's draw something. Let's make a comic. Let's, entertain ourselves in that way. And there's something fun about being collaboratively creative with other people that are also creative. And again, I think it's a hard thing to do. I do a live stream where a bunch of artists, we get together and we draw. And I forget how difficult that can be sometimes for people, even other people who are professionals, because again, it's a hard thing to do. One, because again, you're live and you're drawing in front of everyone, but there can be those insecurity demons that come around and strike. And I remember at the time, like even back when in SeaWorld days, like I had to deal with those, like, because that's what we were all doing. That we're like, hey, we get together at parties and be like, hey, let's make a 15-minute comic. Let's do a 24-hour comic challenge. Let's draw for fun, because we were all young and that's what was fun to do. And we spent all day drawing at work, and then we go home and spend all day drawing. It's like we were kind of insane, but that's also where the fun is. And it's like, why wouldn't you want to do that? It's fun. And I think that's one of the things that is kind of cool to have with art, is have that element of fun. And especially with cartooning, because cartooning is supposed to be funny. It's supposed to make you laugh. I think that's why I think so get together with some friends and do some collaborative art, and you'll be surprised at how much you grow, because you're not just drawing for yourself. You're seeing, hey, how does Chris draw eyes? I remember when I got back into doing caricatures after years, I worked with Chris, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to remember how to draw caricatures. I'm sitting there like, watching Chris and like, oh, that's right, that's how I do that. Oh, that's right, that's how that works. And it's a collaboration. Like, I don't mind when people like, hey, how do you do this? Like, hey, let me show you. Here's how I do it. Maybe that'll help you. And it's a great way to grow.
That's great. So it sounds very non-competitive. Is there a healthy competition at all, or is it more like we're just all slap happy, crazy people drawing, or do you feel you push each other in a way?
I think there's some pushing, but if there's any competition, usually it just comes down to, oh man, I love how you did that, or right. Oh man, you drew that so good, or sometimes it'll be like, I'll see like one recent convention, and I think I uploaded this drawing to the Drive link you sent me, but Chris and I are in in the Airbnb we were staying at for the con. And I noticed Chris, he's sitting back in his chair and he's got a sketchbook. I was like, all right, Chris is drawing me. Like he's sketching.
Oh, yeah.
Me. So I bust out my phone. I start drawing a sketch of him. And then it's like, that's the friendly like competition. Right. It's like, I think there it is. Yeah. There it is. Yeah, he's drawing me, so I'm like, well, I'm going to draw him right back. And it's like, I think the term is called like snipacature or something like that, where it's that person way over there, I'm going to snipacature them. And it's like, it's like, oh, I see Chris drawing me. Well, just wait till you get to a lot of this one, and then it's like it's a friendly, combative, like I'll show you up.
One up each other just to make each other laugh. It's like you want to see how far you can push it, still have it be recognizable. And funny, but you're drawing things on your phone and like doing these amazing full color phone sketches. What are you using for that? What's that?
I was using Sketch Club. Like? Yeah, that's my favorite app. Is Sketch Club. They have it on iPad as well. But nowadays, like I've been doing some digital caricatures at parties, and I'll use like Procreate for that one, mostly because it's easier to access for other. If I need to like access like a printer or something like that, Procreate's really good for that. But yeah, Sketch Club's my favorite, mostly because they have this really nice vector tool, which makes filling in colors so much quicker, and I can do cool effects with like shading and other things like that. And that's usually my go-to because I've got like where is it? So I have my handy dandy sketch wallet, which I don't think we're sponsored by. Yeah, Chris has probably got one that looks just as janky as mine.
Okay, look at that.
Yeah, we got a sketch wallet, but then mine doesn't get used for sketches, although it's got a few in it. But most of the time, what I was using this for was like in the car, I would pass this back and forth with like my daughter or my wife, and we'll play little sketch games in there. But most of the time, it's holding on to my stylus, which is just a simple. It's not even doesn't even have pressure to it. It's just a simple, I don't know, like conductive cloth stylus, and I'll just use that to draw on my phone. And I got into sketching on my phone because I had a job in Santa Monica, and I had to take the train there from Burbank, and it was like an hour train ride, which was great for hunching myself up in a corner in a subway and just drawing everyone on the subway. So it was like my hour drawing warm up every morning as I sketched people on the subway, and I had a ton of sketches of people. Most of the time, people on their phone like me, but it was great. It was great fun, and every once in a while, I'm trying to get off my phone more, but every once in a while, I get to sketch on there, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, if you're going to be on your phone all day, at least you're drawing. Yeah.
At least I'm drawing something.
So back to animation. What was your first break into animation?
My first first time getting a job, or getting interested in it.
Well, I'll say, we'll back up a little bit because we kind of whooped. Okay, yeah, we've said something and I was like, so you're like, oh, I loved old Disney cartoons, right? Yeah. So aside from loving Calvin and Hobbes, so your memory just went okay, yeah, you loved old Disney cartoons. You loved the Goofy shorts, right?
Oh
you loved all of that with the awesome narration and the Goofy sports and that's how I think about that. So you had this, there's a difference between being someone who loves to draw and wants to be an artist and someone who wants to be an animator. It's a whole nother thing. You can love to draw, but to be an animator, you have to love to draw so much.
Oh, yes.
That you have to push past the pain. If you love the pain. That kid's going places. Right? Yeah, exactly. So you wanted to go to school for it. So how did it happen? What was the transition from I love to draw, they tell me I'm good at it, and I want to go and I want to study animation?
I think I don't remember. I just knew I loved drawing, and animation was the place to go draw professionally. Now this was back before a lot of the technology that's come around today. When I went to school for animation, there was mid 90s, early 2000s, and what happened was So I was a year out of high school, and I found out about this program with a local high school. It was Mount Carmel, I think, Mount Carmel High School. And it was this program called a regional occupational program. And basically it was, you can take these classes that were offered at schools, basically like doing community college. And I really wanted to do animation, and I didn't have the money or the confidence to like, or even having a portfolio to like send off to an animation school. And this seemed like, hey, there's an animation class here in San Diego. And because by this time I was on my own. I was out and living on my own. And so I said, you know what? I want to take this class. And so I signed up through this regional occupational program, and it was taught by this old Warner Brothers animator. And funny enough, who do I meet at this class was Brian Morante. He was taking the class. Like he had been taking the class for a while. And basically, but yeah, it was a whole class on like, he had light tables. He had the old fashioned like rolling to check your animation. He was teaching. He had like an old fashioned like capture station where you capture all your animation. And it was, like it was the first time I'd ever like animated something, and I got to like put all my drawings in the capture station, captured it, and then watch it play. And I was like that was it. That was
the moment. Yeah.
That was the moment.
It's that Dr. Frankenstein moment. It's alive. Right? Yeah.
It's alive, and I get to make this, and oh my gosh, like that's so much fun, is seeing it all come together. And yeah, that was the moment where I was like, I want to do this.
It's also cool. I do think there's probably something also in the water in California too. You know what I mean? I mean,
I believe it.
It is animation land. Yeah.
That could be that, yeah. Because I mean, there's all the major studios are here, and so yeah, that could be it too. Because it's not so much of like, you want to do that animation stuff. You know, like, how is that a career? When out here, it's like, oh no, yeah, I work with like 5 guys there in animation.
Yeah, more accessible, tangible. So back in the day, did you have any artistic mentors? You remember early on, relatives or other like early teachers? Any artists that you knew personally?
Gosh. Yeah, it was. I always got encouraged by my mom and dad. Like they never like made it seem art is like a bad thing to do or anything like that. But I gotta say, my first mentor, and he passed recently, but was Rick Davis. He was my manager at SeaWorld. And he was I think for me, like, he was the first one to kind of, I don't know, like, I felt taken under a wing with him. And he was like, because he trained me in caricature. I originally started out doing portrait. I started out doing profile portraits. Where I take my thumb, my finger, and you apply the chalk pastel, and then they got rid of that booth, so they moved us all over to caricature, where I really wanted to be. I really wanted to be over. Everyone who did portraits wanted to do caricatures at SeaWorld. So I got moved over to doing caricatures at SeaWorld, and yeah, Rick was like, he almost had Bob Ross things to say. There's no mistakes. If you make a mistake, it just makes your drawing better. And I felt pushed by him. Hey, just keep doing it. Keep drawing. Keep getting through it. And I'm really glad he was there for that. Because yeah, those first sketches, those first couple years, I was terrible. Like you wouldn't believe how bad those sketches were. I don't want to think about them because they were just awful. But yeah, like, he just kept saying, no, you can do this. You got this, keep pushing, keep going. And yeah, that's where I really learned. Because I mean, Chris, you've mirrored some of the stuff he said, where it's, just draw whatever the heck you want. And that's caricature. You just draw whatever you want. Like, you don't really need, you can nitpick about, does it look like me or something like that? Just draw whatever you want. It's fine. Just draw whatever you want. If it's funny, they'll love it, and just have a great time. And yeah, he was the first time I think I'd ever heard that from a person. And that was like, yeah, he was a huge mentor for me.
That's cool. And even to think about that you were doing caricature and having that kind of experience kind of at the same time as you were in school for animation, because I think that the process of learning to caricature something or someone is only going to feed all of your drawing, right? So the whole
yeah.
idea of looking at something and bringing it down to shapes and then playing with the proportions of those shapes and exaggerating and choosing what to push, like that's just going to blow up all of your drawings. Like I'm somewhat envious that I didn't do caricature, at a deeper level when I was younger, because I really do think that it would expand that kind of whatever it is, a little chugging little art thing in your brain, and how it works.
Caricature is really good at, like, first idea comes to your head, go for it. Go for it, put it on the page, have fun with it, explode with that confidence, and go with it, and you'll be great. And that works great for caricature. I think it works great for comics and illustration. It doesn't always work for animation, because animation is a different beast, because one, it's very much more collaborative. Your stuff is not, you're not going to be the only one to touch this, and so it needs to go down next person. And so with animation, you have to have a mind for structure, you have to have a mind for volume, and with caricature, you don't have to worry about that. You just grab a marker and like, yay, I draw whatever I want. And that helps with, playfulness, playing with shapes, but it doesn't translate over into the more of the discipline that you need for animation. What I learned, especially doing storyboards, is that, like, I want to take a little second to think it out and take a second to maybe sketch out some roughs or plot around a little bit. Where before I took that quick thinking of caricature and applied it to it, and it didn't really work out. Like, it wasn't that what I was doing necessarily bad, but it wasn't as well thought out as other people who had learned to take a second to think it out or slowly approach it. So there's good things and bad things about it. Not necessarily, it's like there's strengths and weaknesses, and it's I think it's not so much that they're bad things. I think it's that identifying them. If you identify them, then you're like, oh, okay, I need to do this. Because that's one of the biggest notes I kept getting from directors, especially when I started doing storyboarding, was just slow down. You have plenty of time. I'm actually really excited to see a lot of caricature artists doing is that, especially when working with Meesimo at like Quick Draw and stuff, people are sketching them out. They're putting a lot more thought into them. Their jokes, the exaggerations are a lot crazier than I think in the past, and that's really cool to see. And so here I am coming in with like old caricature methods, it feels like, but now I'm seeing what like newer artists are doing. I'm like, my gosh, I wish I was doing this back when I was doing this. But it was a different game, because it was about get it out quick, get it done, get to the next one. Now it's a little more like, no, take your time. People appreciate the time you're putting into the art. It's not so much just, I've got 3 minutes and my kids are screaming and I hate your face, and it's more like, no, we're here. Yeah, draw me and my girlfriend. We want to be crazy. Like take your time. We appreciate that. So it's a different mentality, and it's really cool to kind of see that evolution. And I think it's coming from the audience getting an appreciation for the art more than it was in the past.
Yeah, now thanks to, that's one of the actual instances of social media being used for good, is that it's actually making
one of them
people aware. Yeah, it's the one of maybe three, but making people aware of caricatures and the variety of caricature. And like, so the audience is a little more sophisticated in that way, where sometimes I remember early on, people would come to the booth and be like, what is this? Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
But now they're coming like, okay, we're looking for you specifically because we saw you drawing on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, and we want you to do us like this and, go crazy, take your time. Not everybody, but certainly way more percentage-wise.
Oh,
thanks
to
some
more and more people are expecting you to have an Instagram, and they want to see your stuff on Instagram. I was working an art market, a little local art market, and I had a few customers sit down. They're like, "Oh, where's your Instagram?" They go check on Instagram, like, "Oh man, these are so good!" Oh, then they get all excited because they can't wait now to get their own artwork. Yeah, where before it was like, "What is this? Oh my gosh, I don't know. Frank, should we get one? I don't know. They can make my nose big." Like the audience was more timid. Now they're like, "Yeah, tear me up. Let's do it."
Right.
That's
a good
actually
thing. Yeah, that's
good
very
evolution.
much a good thing.
Yeah. For sure.
Love to see it. So when you first actually got into animation now, which studio or which project was this?
So when I first got into animation, I took like a whole winding path to get where I'm company out, but I was there with like the first team of guys there, and that was a rough job. That was a rough job because I was doing character design and concepts, and it was what I would call a bad art job because they didn't have, I don't think they knew quite what they wanted to do yet. So we were kind of like their tools to kind of do that, which is totally fine. That's usually what you're doing in a studio. You are, because they don't know how to draw or they've got ideas and you're there to be their tool. But I think as far as like a first like studio job for me, it was terrible because a lot of us were green and we didn't quite know what to do. And I think also because the people in charge didn't quite know what they wanted, and so it didn't go very well. And I would definitely warn of like, if you're young and trying to get into art, watch out for bad art jobs, because what they can do is really kill your motivation and your passion for this, because it's kind of like the ugly side of being a professional artist rears its ugly head, and then you're like, why am I doing this? This is, then you just get angry and bitter. And yeah, that's what I was after that job. I was very angry and bitter. But that was doing games up for like, I was doing animation for mobile and social games up in the Bay Area. And it was an old friend of ours from college that hooked my wife Karen up with jobs out there for a studio called Slide. And we were doing Super Poke Pets. And so we were building tiny little like plushy characters. Like every week would have like a new theme. It was kind of like this game where like you have like a little pet and you could buy habitats. You could buy little plushies that would animate and do stuff in them. And we worked at that job for a good couple years. Like we had that job for 2 years, but that was like my first major, like, and that was an enjoyable job. We loved that job. That was great, where I was doing animation. Like I got to design them, got to do the animation. Yeah, that was a ton of fun. And I think that was where I really found everything that I had learned from then on, like from that point on, like I was able to apply it, because with the designs we got to do, I was doing a lot of like playing with shapes that I learned in caricature, but then also using everything I learned about animation in school. And it was like that perfect merging of like all the skills. Like, oh, I was having so much fun. It was great. I loved it.
Nice.
That's cool. And
That's
you
awesome.
And your wife both worked there, you said.
Yep,
right?
we both
Which
worked
is
there doing
also right cool. It's, that's one thing, is like the life of a couple who both are artists. Sometimes, one could be busy and one isn't, but like if you can do it together and you're doing what you love and you're both engaged and excited about what you're doing, like that's awesome. Also, just that story also reminded me that animators really have to go where the work is too. So you're from San Diego, then you're going in Los Angeles, and now you're up in San Francisco, like that area. So, that's another thing. Like your work is production to production too. And that's another thing. It is a kind of a fickle
thing. Yes. Oh, yes.
If you love it,
and that was the lesson we learned up in San Francisco, because that job that we had, like I said, it went for about 2 years, and it was a lot of fun. Our daughter was born up there in San Francisco while we were there. But then, the company we worked at got bought by Google, and they shortly closed the game after that. No one knew why, and we were all disappointed and sad. Yeah. And but then we moved on. We did some other projects. I worked at another both Karen and I, we worked at another game studio together. Did some animation. And this was a cool game. I got to work at this game company called Loot Drop, and this was like a total 180. So the last game I was doing was like these cutesy little plushy, like simple characters with like, oh, here's my flowers and here's this. And then I went over to Loot Drop, and I'm doing literal, what was it? Ghost Recon, like style, like Alpha Bravo, guys with like sniper rifles running around. I'm doing like shooting animations and death animations, and like the gun firing and like total like 180 in as far as like content involved. And again, that was a lot of fun. I met a lot of really cool people that I got to work with, and then again, but then like that one didn't last long because the studio went under, and that was that was a rough time at that point too, because it was like jumping from job to job to job, like, hey, this job and then that goes under, and then this job and that goes under. And it was at that point where we moved from San Francisco back to San Diego, and I got another job with a game company in San Diego, and they went under. And so it was like, oh my goodness. It was like this constant like, hey, oh boy.
No.
And so then, and just like us uprooting and moving, like every time, like it was getting at this point where I think I'd lost hair, all the hair on top of my head. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is really rough. And
Stressful.
it was stressful, and it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard to move, especially because we had 2 kids.
It
was hard to just uproot and go everywhere. But we uprooted again. I got a job up in LA, and we uprooted again to move to LA. And this was with a web app company called Plug DJ, and that was a really fun job. It was this website where you could hop on. It was like a social room where you could get into this room with other people who had avatars. And my job was to design and animate these avatars. And they'd sit still, but if you like, and there'd be someone DJing the room. So they'd have you'd have playlists where people have I joined to have a playlist of songs from YouTube, and you go up and you DJ. And if people liked the song that was playing, you could hit the woot button and your little avatar would start dancing and stuff. And that was a fun one because gosh, I animated so much dance moves for that. And all the characters were always creative. I did animated a dancing Venus flytrap or a flaming rock golem monster, or there was the different ideas we were going through were wild and crazy and imaginative, and I got to meet a lot of fun people on that job. But again, that one didn't last long, and it was again another job, another move, and then I moved to another company that didn't last long. And this was about 2016, I think. This is around 2016. So I'm up in LA. And at this point, I was trying to break into storyboarding. Because when I went to school, I loved animation. I still love animating. But I really fell in love with storyboarding. I think it was, I know animation, it's fun to see the drawings come to life. But I love telling stories. That I think was what I really loved. So that was about the point where I was really trying to break into animation, doing storyboards. I was getting tests. I did a bunch of tests for SpongeBob. My friend Brian was a storyboard artist at SpongeBob, so he was always trying to hey, they're hiring, or hey, I can get you another test or doing something here. He was super helpful. And but I wasn't getting anything. I was getting lots of rejection letters, and that's disheartening, especially when you have kids. Yeah. And you're getting stressed out, and you've been through so many highs and lows. And I went to a storyboard portfolio review. It was, I can't remember where this was. I think it was CTN was putting it on or something like that in Burbank. Mm-hmm. And I sat down with, what's the guy's name? I sat down with Steve Gordon. He was the guy behind X-Men Evolution, did all the character designs and stuff like that. And I was showing him here's my storyboards. Here's my work. I've been getting tests, but I'm getting rejected. Is this worth doing? Should I give up? Is the world telling me to just throw in the towel here? And he looked at my stuff and he said, no, your stuff is good. Keep going. I was like, thank God. Thank God he said that. Because then literally 6 months later, I got a storyboard test for Warner Brothers, and they wanted me on to do Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs, which was this little Flintstones spin-off cartoon. And that was my first storyboard job. And I've been doing storyboards and animation ever since, and met so many awesome people through doing that. And I went after working on Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs. That one almost was another story of, hey, because that was right around when Warner Brothers got bought by AT&T and then sold by AT&T. So they killed that production before it even got to premiere. But then luckily right after that, I was able to go over to Bento Box and work on a little show called Central Park. And while I was there in the office for finishing up the first season of Central Park, I found out about this little show called The Great North that was starting up. And I walked down the middle hallway, and I've been working on The Great North since season 1 for the last 6 years. And it was like, yeah, so it's like it happens. You just got to keep going, but it's rough. you gotta really love doing this to keep. There's going to be times where you're like, I hate this. I hate what I'm doing. The world hates me. They must. But I don't know. I always tell myself, like, this is what I know how to do. Let's go do it.
I think it's true. You really, really do have to love it to weather the storms, because the storms are quite frequent. And like whenever you're trying to have a creative life, no matter whatever it is that you do that's creative, you're like, you're going to face a lot of starts and stops and switches and pivots and turns and twists. And so so that was a great. We got like a whole big. We got your whole. We got your whole thing. We got the whole arc of your story.
Except, and sorry to cut you off if you're
go.
There's another step in your journey dealing with independent animation. You want to take us down that road?
So this was around this was 2018. Both Karen and I were working at Warner Brothers, because when I got on Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs, they were looking for someone to do layout work, and I was like, well, you should talk to my wife, because when it comes to like animation, she knows just as much as I do. And so they brought her on as a layout artist at Yabba Dabba, and it was an old writer friend of mine, because at that point too I was doing live streaming on Twitch, and he watched me do an animation demonstration on Twitch one time. He's like, wow, you're really good. I know a guy who's looking to get some animation done. I was thinking I'd get you guys together so I can help friend A with friend C. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Send him our way. So we got together with this writer, and it turns out he was a writer for USC's Advanced Technology Division. And they were working on a program for Children's Hospital, and they needed 6 small animation vignettes done for this program where at Children's Hospital, the doctors get a bunch of study, like they'll have patients, and there's a bunch of studies going on, and a lot of times they'll like, oh, hey, this kid's a perfect patient for this study we're doing on children's diabetes. Let's see if they'll sign up for this study. And the USC Technology Division had worked on this kind of like artificial assistant. It wasn't AI, but it was like an artificial kind of like assistant that you could like ask it questions, and it would be kind of like, hey, I've got this answer for you. And these vignettes were like a way to kind of like give long explanations quickly, because that's what animation and film is really good at doing. So we did this project, and it was like being like 30 grand or something like that project. And it was all produced by Karen and I. Like, we were the producers. Like, this is the first time we'd always been like the cog in the machine somewhere, but this is our first time like steering the boat of this animation production. And we did it. We hired on a few friends to help us out, to do animation, to do some backgrounds for us. I did all the character designs, storyboards, and then Karen did most of the animation on it too. And we produced these 6 vignettes, and we were like, that was a ton of fun. Let's do that more. But yeah, we decided to start a company, and we started Chubby Beagle Productions. And it was in we based it off of Chubby Beagle Productions is based off our old dog Sally, who was a literal like giant fat beagle. When we first got her from the pound, she came waddling out. Like, all the other dogs wanted nothing to do with us. This was a pound back in San Diego. All the other dogs wanted nothing to do with us. Like, they were these tiny little yip yip dogs, and one of them peed in the corner. The other one was shaking so much he shook himself to pieces. But Sally came out and was like, hi, I love you. Plop, 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 ears flopping all around. You could see the bodies jiggling. Like, and our kids fell in love with her immediately. And so when we started the company, we're like, well, what do we want to make? What do we want our brand to be? And we're like, well, we want to make silly, stupid, fun stuff that puts a smile on your face, like a Chubby Beagle. because you
Mhm.
can't help but smile when you see a big fat chubby beagle. And so that's why we went with Chubby Beagle Productions. And we started doing a few small projects. Like we did some YouTube animations for some small channels, and then it was our old friend. It was an old school friend named Johnny Burgess. He was our old friend from college, the one who gave us our job in San Francisco.
Oh yeah.
He reached out to us and said, "Hey, I just got done doing designs on this project. Would you guys be interested?" And it was for this movie project called Maxie LaWow. And Karen fell in love with it because it's Maxie LaWow, drag queen superhero. It's the first animated drag queen superhero movie.
That's cool.
And Karen is a huge Drag Race fan. And
Mhm.
if you're a Drag Race fan, this movie is for you. And she was all for it. And after I stopped freaking out, I was all for it. and yeah, so we spent the next 3.5 years producing this 90-minute full-length animated film with a team
Wow.
of like 20 artists, and now it's out in film festivals, and we're really excited that everyone gets to see it. Don't know where, but everyone's hopefully
Right.
going to get to see it soon. We're hoping soon. So hopefully summer this year or something like that, I think is what we've heard. But we're really excited. It's been killing it. It's been racking up laurels it got Best Animated Film in SF Indie Fest.
Cool.
I don't remember the name of it was an film festival in England. It got Best Animated Film as well, and racking up some other laurels like Director's Choice, Festival's Choice, Impact Award at the DC International Film Festival. So it's picking up some laurels, and yeah, that's what we're real excited for people to get to see it, because it is. I mean, Chris has seen it. It's chock full of like just dumb, silly, stupid, fun stuff.
That's all my favorite stuff. Dumb and silly.
That's all our favorite stuff. Yeah. I don't know how we did it. Still, I still sometimes I'm like, did we do that? Did we? I really got to give credit to the team that we put together, because I remember our plan when we first did it was like, okay, I'll direct the storyboards and I'll do some storyboards because I'm a good storyboard artist. And then I just didn't have the time. Like, I was so busy with stuff that I was working on with the Great North, I couldn't storyboard anything. So we had to send that out to people. And when you have to put together a big project like that, you really find out who you know, and who you know because of who you know. And so we put out, it was a caricature artist friend of ours, or friend of mine, that hooked us to Taryn Cozy. It was David Reyes.
Oh yeah.
And he said, "Oh, I know this girl. She's a great storyboard artist." And he introduced us to Taryn Cozy. And Taryn was like one of our best storyboard artists. Like, we had and I don't mean to like put down the other board artists we had, because we had some great board artists that worked for us. But she killed it. My old friend that I did Plug DJ, he was my art director at Plug DJ. I reached out to him because he had been a drag queen. And I knew, like, if we're going to give this film any bit of authenticity, we have to get Mike on board. So we brought on my friend Mike Derry, and he was over the hill, like, oh my gosh, I have to work on this. Thank you for bringing me on. And yeah, we just brought in a bunch of people, and it was either, there were very few times where it was someone brand new. A lot of it was people that we knew from either previous stuff we worked on, or a friend of a friend from someone we worked on. Yeah, you just never find, you're really like, wow, I knew all these people just because I knew this small group of people I knew. And it's like, now it's like we just keep growing the team. And just this last weekend at WonderCon, like, I was really like, because that was the theme we felt at WonderCon, because with the way animation is right now, the word on the street seems to be like, start making your own stuff. Plant the seeds of your own ideas now, because once the studios or the money that be gets their act together and realizes the huge mistakes they're making, they want to find something that's out there. And so this whole con, I was out there just like networking. I was, to go back to caricatures. Caricature is a great way to also, like, if you want to stop being an introverted artist that's just quiet in the corner, learn to be a caricature artist, because you can't be an introverted artist in the corner. You got to be like, hey, I want to talk to you. I want to get to know your personality, because I want to draw you and I want to know who you are and I want to put your personality in the picture. And I was like turning that on, like, hey, I'm a carny now. Hey, want to throw the ball at some pins? Let's go. Come on. And but it's like all those skills come together, and yeah, it worked out for the production. It's been working out for our studio, and yeah, we're out looking for our next project and doing things that we never thought we would do. Like back when I was sitting in a caricature booth working with Meesimo or Brian or anything like that, I never thought I'd be doing this. I never thought I'd be, talking about like, hey, I made a film. Like, what? No. You're not gonna do that.
It's just as valuable as your drawing skills, the ability to interact with people, to be a salesperson, to be somebody who can sell yourself and do it in a way that is not obnoxious. There's so many great artists out there, but they can't do that. They can't actually do that. You told us your whole arc, but now it's culminating in when I wanted to make this independent animation, I drew from this whole history of people to be able to make a team.
Yeah, and it's blowing me away. Like I think it was definitely during the film, because I talked about that thing that hit me about like watching the animation come to life, and I had that again while watching the film come to life, because at this point, like the stuff that I actually had worked on was getting to the point where there's character designs that are mine, there's some of the backgrounds that I designed, but I didn't do the final art for, and I didn't do the final art for the characters. So that happens in animation, because like if you go watch The Great North, I worked on the episode, but it's not my final art that's on stage. It might not even be my final timing, because it goes through different hands, different departments. But boy, watching a full scene come back from the board artist, and then you watch it, you're like, wow, this is funny. And then you watch that go from rough storyboards to then the backgrounds get in, and then the designs come in, and then you've watched when those first final animations were coming back, and then we'd watch like the first act of the movie. It's like, this is funny. Oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing. And that was experiencing that, watching it come to life, because it was like watching this project grow and hit those milestones was like the best thing in the world. It's like the best feeling. It's like watching your kids grow up. Like, oh wow, you did it. You've made it to final color. Like the audio, like there's your drawing skills, and those are really important, especially if cartooning or animation or anything like that. Is that you want to have your drawing skills, but other skills are important. If anything, maybe more so. That's leading a team, that's giving good direction. Sometimes that's saying just, hey, I'm not the best artist for this. They're the best artist for this. Or, my goodness, that works great. When I was working for Quick Draw, and our friend Rob Hume, who's the one that runs Quick Draw, was introducing me to some new artists who wanted to do animation. And all I'm thinking is like, oh my gosh, if a project comes up and I'm looking at their art styles, like, these guys are really good. Like, I want to get them on a project. Like, it's seeing those connections. That's also really important, because that's how you build that network. That's how you get that team. And it's more like community building than just, hey, here's my art skills. Look how cool I am. Like, I can do. I think it's finding a balance of that, because we all know that artist who's like, I'm hot stuff, check me out. But it's like, okay, I don't want to. Yeah. And it's like, I think that's where animation, I think, is its unique thing, because like cartooning is a very solitary thing, because you can be, unless you're working with like a writer, but you're still like, I'm sitting alone, I'm cartooning, I'm doing my illustrations. It's a solitary thing. It's not very collaborative. Illustration's the same way. Caricature is a bit different, because it's a bit of both, because you're drawing at your own easel, but if you're there with another artist, now you can collaborate, or, like, hey, let's get each other laughing and feeling good about each other. So then the next guest comes along, man, I'm going to tear this up. Or I've been inspired. God, I love stuff that Chris puts in his backgrounds, and I'm like, oh, I know exactly what I'm putting in the next one, because I loved something that Chris did, or I saw something that Jeff did, or all these, it's that playfulness. And so I think that's where, God, it's that collaboration works so well into stuff like film and animation, because then it's like, hey, I got this scene, who can I give this scene to? Or, hey, who's got the best idea? Let's work together, let's collaborate. And I feel like you keep that positive collaboration energy, and that's how you get the best work out of artists. That's how you get the best work out of your team.
That's great. It sounds like you have a good handle on who, like a good view of the big picture. Like this person would be great on this project, or this person would be great on this part of this project. You know, some people are great. It's almost like casting roles for a movie. It's like this person's great at the emotional scene, you know, storyboarding. This one's great at, you know, maybe storyboarding action, you know. So it's,
yeah, you definitely want to look for, like, because you want to play to everyone's strengths.
right.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, this person's really good here. This person's good here. And then it's just give them what they're strong at. And then, you know, just kind of go from there. And yeah, that's kind of the best thing. It's especially hard too, because one of the things we had is like, we were an independent project. We didn't have a giant budget. You know, we were trying to pay people as much as we could. And, you know, I always go back to, there's those 3 notches on freelance work. It can either be fast and good, or good and slow, or fast and cheap, but you can only have 2. You can't have all 3 of them.
Right.
And so I was like, well, we want this to be good, and we don't have a lot of money, so we have to do it on the cheap. So we gave everyone as much time as they could. We were never like, we didn't want to rush people. We would kind of give people like a suggested deadline. We'd be like, hey, can we have this done by this? But if it's going to take you longer, just let us know. Please just let us know. It's okay. You know, I feel like trying, especially with artists, you really gotta let them know, like, hey, if it's gonna take you longer, it's okay.
Right.
Just tell us.
Yeah.
Right.
Because especially as artists, because we're always like, we are our own worst enemy, and if we're late on something, then we're panicking. But if we're panicking, we're not doing our best work. That's gonna show up on the page. And actually, I got this from something you told me, Chris, a long time ago. Was you were showing me your inking technique, and now this is what because I teach a class on comics and stuff. This is the inking technique that I teach everyone. Is like, you just redraw everything. Like, you have your sketch, but don't hold to the sketch. Redraw
Don't be a
it.
slave to your sketch.
Don't be a slave to your sketch. Redraw it, because the energy that you had doing the sketch is the energy you want to have doing the final drawing. So don't sweat it. Just
don't kill your line, right? Don't strangle your line to death.
Don't strangle your line. Right. Don't worry about sticking with the sketch. Just redraw it with the same energy and the same emotion, and that's where you have the bold lines, the slick lines, and you're like, oh, I can add a little bit here. You know what? I think I'm going to change this, or I have a better idea of this, and just go with it. Go with it, because that's the energy you had when you did your awesome sketch. You want to have it with the drawing. And so that's what you want to do with artists. If you're working with artists or you're leading them, you want to have them feel like, hey, what's your idea? That's a great idea. Let's work on it. How can we merge everything so that you feel like, because that's what we want everyone to do, because we wanted the movie to be fun and stupid and a good time. And that's not going to happen if the artists working on it are having a terrible time and they're stressed out. And so that's I think that comes through in the final movie. I hope it comes through in the final movie, but that was our philosophy, and I think it worked out, because no one's banging down our door trying to kill us. So
I just wish I wish there was still that vibrant animation festival thing, you know, that there used to be. The Spike and Mike and the Tournay, and like I wish it was like still going on. It's like, I'm hoping maybe it comes back. It's not just that things have to go online. Like, I would love it if like we actually came back into theaters and you could go and see.
I think if festivals can give those creators, I think, an incentive to submit their first, I think that might help. But it's so hard, because it's just so easy to put stuff online and get views instantly.
Right.
I think the way forward, and this is just me talking, so take this with a grain of salt, because I'm very good at sounding like I know what I'm talking about, but in my mind, I'm like, I honestly think the way forward is, like, there's still a love of seeing movies. There's still a love of watching good TV shows. If anything, live our dream is over, because that's how they're taking advantage of us. They're taking advantage of us by saying, hey, live your dream, young one. Come be the coolest, awesomest artist. Like your, you know, like Chris Meesimo, he's so cool. But it's like, no, that's how they take advantage of you, because if you want to go
Same thing
work
with
in comics,
It's like,
yeah,
come work on your favorite character for $5. Like,
yeah. If
you've
you want to
always
work in comics, just go draw a comic. That's it.
right.
Go work. Scott McCloud said it perfectly. You want to be a professional in comics? Make a comic, sell it to your friend for 25 cents. You're a professional in comics. You made money
Yeah.
making a comic. Like, that's silly and that easy, but it's all this like, whoa, you're not a real artist unless you've worked on so-and-so or this or that, the other thing. No, just work on comics, make fun stuff, enjoy it, let it be fun again. And then it's like, yeah, if you're going to make something, share the spoils.
I think it's interesting because animation is similar in a way to the world of children's publishing, and I'm talking about like major children's publishing, like Random House and HarperCollins and Scholastic and Simon and Schuster and like the big ones. That they know just how many people want it and how badly they want it, and that becomes the way that they can get you. That they don't, for the amount of time that it takes to make a children's book. And when they cut the amount of time that it takes to make a children's book, they don't like think about the fact that you're killing yourself to get something that normally would take a year get done in 6 months, or something that should take 3 years gets done in 1 year. And yeah, it's kind of a similar thing. At a certain point in children's books, you can get like royalties on it, but not everybody does. And it's the same thing. It's like, but not everybody does.
And that's hard. We've
It's
had
hard.
to say goodbye to possible projects because of that. And since it's not impossible, then I might as well just give it a shot. I mean, I always treat it like, hey, if I'm in line at Chipotle and I want chicken and beef at the same time, I'll ask. The worst I can say is no. Sometimes they get like, hey, can I get both? Sometimes they'll be like,
And some of this stuff, you can't reach the point where you have this knowledge unless you have this like long amount of time that you've been working at something. You can't actually get to learn to kind of ride the roller coaster and not get off. You're like, I'll ride again. It's all right. Like, and knowing that like when you have ideas for things, they may not all get made, or you just put them back. You put them back in the file. Like, all right, okay, I'm just gonna put that away, and maybe it's not the time for it. And you just think about like, no, I just have to be an idea factory and keep making new ideas and try not to let any of them get too important.
Right. Yeah. We learned that pretty early on with caricature too. Don't be too precious about any one drawing or any one idea. In this case, where like maybe that idea isn't ready yet or needs to cook a little bit more in your brain factory. Like, don't be too precious. There's another one right around the corner,
Yeah. I think another thing that also, like, going back to piggyback off of what Chris said, going back to caricature, stuff that helps, it teaches you. I mean, you don't have to be a caricature artist to learn this, but it's just understanding, like, you do a caricature and you see a flaw in it. Like, you're drawing it and your pen just whoop, you went to go whip, but it goes whoop. And you know what? When you get done with it, you don't have to point that out. You don't have to, like, I'll tell this to, because Karen and I, we've done talks to students at Laguna College of Design, because I know someone who's a teacher there, and she loves having us talk to kids who are doing like pitch projects and stuff. And sometimes when I catch a student doing that, I'll be like, don't tell me what you didn't like. Don't apologize if you think something's bad. And this applies to caricature. It's like, to the person sitting down in front of you, whether it be a customer, a prospective client, your director, don't sit there and tell them what you did wrong. That's not your job. That's not your job. To them, you are a professional and you're doing your work. And as soon as you break the mysticism of your professional by saying, well, here's what I did. I'm sorry about the way I drew the hands, and this eye, ignore that. I'll draw it better next time. It's like, I get what you're doing. You're trying to cage yourself. And for me, saying like, well, look at that eye. Really? Like, if I don't like the eye, I'll say, maybe we'll fix the eye next time. Or, hey, how can you do that? And then great. But it's that fear. But maintain that, no, you're a professional. And if you break that, then they stop seeing you as a professional, and that's when the customer then starts seeing stuff you didn't even think was bad. Because if you say, oh yeah, sorry about the ear, I didn't draw the ear right. They're like, yeah, you didn't draw my son's face right either. You didn't like why'd you do my wife's nose like that? I'm not paying for this, and that you've just given them license to find everything they hate about it. So it's like, just stay confident, be like, here's my drawing. What? Look at this great artwork. I drew it. Isn't it awesome? Did you like it? And there you go. They'll tell you, and it's okay if they tell you. They can have their opinion, but you gotta maintain that. And yeah, it applies. It applies to a lot of things.
I mean, just thinking about, like, if both of you think like, oh, you've done millions and millions of caricatures, you've experienced millions of different kinds of humans, which is a whole nother thing. Like dealing with the public in that way, that's a lot. That's a lot. At the end of the day, you must be wasted. And I know you're like, oh yeah, we still go home and we draw. Even at the end of a day of a long caricature day, but still, like, that's.
But part of it is you need to get that out of your system because you're so fried and like overwhelmed visual stimuli. You kind of need to go. That's one of the funnest things. We did it at the MFA program where, like, after a long busy day, we go to the lobby and draw. After a long busy day, depending on the crew, you go back to the hotel and do like a drink and draw. Like we did a big drink and draw to LA last year at WonderCon.
That's right. That's right.
We draw all day. That just means you're really warmed up. But now you can draw whatever you want. Really. That's true. Like, without worrying about somebody. So sometimes you need that extra outlet after a busy day. Not with as many people, but
it's like taking the pressure out of the pressure cooker. You're just like, and you let all that.
Sometimes those are the best drawings. Like, those are you go, depending on who you're hanging out with, you just draw.
Well, that's, that can be,
well,
oh, you got that one. Hey!
Whoa, does your hat say old?
Yeah, because I was teasing him. He had this. He was sitting with our booth manager Alyssa. This was recently at Seattle. I drew that one, and I was sitting down at my easel. They were sitting down. I think they were talking like over food, and there was just something about the way Meesimo was talking with Alyssa, because Alyssa's like in her like early 20s, and I know Meesemo's like my age and stuff, and this is the way he's like, hey, so how about we go get pizza and we can go over here? And I was like, this is like kind of sweet but also funny. Like hilarious. Like he's like charting out the plan for dinner, and like, this is where, let me tell you, like
now you listen here.
It's just capturing, that's why I just feel like, for me, is when I'm looking for in my art, is just capturing that, what's that stupid thing I saw? And sometimes it doesn't come out right. Sometimes people don't get the joke. That's okay. But it's like, it's just capturing that moment you see. And that's kind of usually what I go for. I'll talk to people, and sometimes I'll leave. For me, when I'm drawing caricatures, everyone's got a different process for drawing caricatures. And I find for me, I always draw the mouth last, because for me, that's the most flexible thing on a person's face. The eyes usually go where the eyes need to go, and the nose goes right underneath it, but the mouth can go,
right.
It can do a whole bunch of different stuff with it. Mm-hmm. And I'm usually waiting to see someone make that, that face that's just like, that's it right there. And if I can get someone talking, if I can get someone making faces, just, having a fun time, that's that I'm going to draw. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people come in, they're just, draw me.
Right?
Draw me funny. You're like, okay, make it really funny. I'm having a great time, can't you tell? Like, you just gotta, and so just draw that. Like, sometimes not everyone's smiling, you just draw what's there. And you gotta be able to make yourself laugh with it.
So how do you balance the caricature travel and the animation schedule? Because I'm
still
grounded.
trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
I think last year was definitely the first time, because last year was So 2023 was, yeah, I was on hiatus for like most of the year and I was not working on anything. Luckily we had Maxi. So I was doing some Maxi work at the time. I was doing some animation on the movie. But then 2024, I'd set up doing a lot of caricatures with Sketched and also our friend Rob with Quick Draw. But then I got back to work. I was also working doing The Great North on the most recent season. And I really wanted to keep doing caricatures. I was having so much fun getting back into doing caricatures. It was great seeing Meesimo and old friends again. And I was having the best time. So I wanted to do both. It takes a toll. It takes a bit of a toll. But I think if you go and once I understood like, oh, it's like there's a learning curve. And even when I jump back into doing caricatures, I feel so bad because on my first day at Calgary with Quick Draw, my old buddy Gabe Hunt was like, "Yeah, man, let's get together. Let's do a collab." And I was like, "I've never done a collab before," and I was so nervous. And he was like, "Yeah, man, let's do it." I was like, "Okay," and it was terrible, and I feel so bad. I want to do another one with him when we get together again. But yeah, there's that. You got to give yourself some time to just get back into it.
I talked to some of my students about like you want to fail as fast as you can. You want to make these mistakes. So even though you did a collab that maybe you're not super proud of, just doing that one makes you realize, okay, next time, now I know what I should do to really up the stakes and make it fun for the next collab. So it's like, you kind of need some clunkers to know how to approach it next time with anything, really. You know?
Yeah. And that's something honestly, like even me in my old gray years, I'm still dealing with. Like I have a hard time dealing with failure when I feel like something isn't going right or something I do. And it's just part of who I am. But that's where, again, that's where I feel like Rick was like the best thing for me to tell me, like, hey, if you make a mistake, it just makes the drawing better. You know, like it's like it's happy accident. It's that kind of thinking where it's like, don't worry about it, don't sweat it, just keep going. God, yeah. I mean, I'll look at sketches from like a caricature con. Usually, like my first sketches on the first day are terrible, but so then I try and make them super funny. Like I did a sketch of like a dad and a kid, and they wanted Invincible, so that they were doing like the think Invincible think, and they laughed and they loved it. And I look at the drawing, I'm like, but you know, they don't know that unless they watch this. Then sorry, but you know, like
you're not saying sorry. I did the hands and it's all.
No, we're laughing because
you're like, hey,
there's find some way if your drawings, if you're not feeling good about your drawings, well, hey, this was funny. You know, I'm always stuffing. I'm always stuffing because we're at superhero con. If it's a little kid like dressed as Batman, then he's punching the face guts out of someone. You know, it's like I just find that's funny because like it's this little kid and he's like just beating the crap out of some criminal. Usually they get a kick out of that, and it's like, hey, I made myself laugh and made them laugh, and that now I don't mind that the drawing wasn't up to snuff.
But see, the thing is, it's not up to snuff to you currently, but now your drawings that are quote unquote not up to snuff are leagues above your good drawings from 10 years ago, or, you know.
Exactly.
So like,
exactly.
You make the mistakes, you keep plowing through, and then your worst drawings, the level raises as well as your good drawings, you know. So now your worst drawings are at the same level as your good drawings from before.
And I feel like it's been so long since I saw something that made me so happy. So what was your feeling about the day the Earth blew up?
We went, it was Karen and I, and we took our daughter, who, it was so funny because she's 14, and we were like, we're going to go see Looney Tunes movie. Now our son, who's 16, he's like, I don't care much for basketball. I'm not going to come. And we were like, are you sure? It's going to be really funny. And he was like, nah, I'm good. And our daughter was kind of like, okay, I'll go. And when we got done seeing the movie, she was laughing so hard, and we were laughing so hard, and we had so much fun. We went shopping at like a thrift store because that was our other errand to do the day, go see a movie and go thrifting. And we were talking to everyone we saw. Like we were talking to the cashier, like, oh my God, you're gonna go see it. It's so good. Like it was just that level of it's like the stuff I want to make with Chubby Beagle. It was that sheer level of stupid that's fun and you can just laugh at, and it's like, oh my God, more people need to know about this movie. It's a shame that more people don't. We went into the theater and it was empty.
Yeah, I'm the only one. I was the only one in my theater.
And like 3 other people, and they're all like my age. They're all like old nerds and stuff like that. And it's like, no, more people need to see this. So it's, I mean, it is such a work of art. I'm so glad it is out, and I pray they make more stuff like this, because there's no way you could get that from any of the crap that they're designing and coming up with. This was a team of people that a lot of the names I recognize, because they were the names of people when we were at Warner Brothers and we were working on our show. But down the hallway, they were doing all the new Looney Tunes shorts that they did. And we got to go, we would sneak in their little writer's room, and we'd see all these notes that they had for all these episodes that they were doing of Porky Pig and Bugs and Elmer. And I was like, oh my God, these are so funny. And it was a lot of the people on the production worked on those shorts, and you can tell because they just knew how to dive into that sheer brand of stupid. I don't like to say stupid like it's bad, but just that sheer goofy, stupid, lovable, wacky's
right?
better.
Like, they leaned into the wacky, literally wacky and the loony. Totally, they got it right.
Did perfectly, and it
also felt like like watching it. You knew how much fun they were having making it, and you knew the people who made it knew the, what we want to call it, the lore. So many moments that are like, oh, that's from this and that's from that, and that's a wink at that, and oh, this is from this era of Looney Tunes, and this is from that. Like there were all these little, like, you know, things that the general public will not pick up on, and they weren't jarring the way that they put them in. No, but they were definitely. My only thing that threw me off was the farmer, but I have since gathered the information as to what the farmer was about. It was the Tom Thumb character merged with
is that who it was?
The Beanie and Cecil Captain and the Tom Thumb guy kind of mushed together. So when you Google those two characters, you go, oh, okay. All right. But that was the only thing where, that was right at the beginning where I was just like, what the hell's going on?
I love the farmer. We love the farmer so much that so we get copies of I can't remember if this was Animation Magazine or the one that the Guild puts out, but they had The Day the Earth Blew Up, like a section on the cover, and it had Farmer John, so we cut it out and we framed it on our stairway, because we were like, no, we all praise to Farmer John. Like he was the best part of that movie.
He's gonna become a cult character. Yeah. This has been so much fun. And thank you for coming on the Cartoon Everything podcast. This has been a blast. Can you tell everybody where you can be found online?
Yeah, you can find me online on Instagram at Bill_Drastal, spelled Drastal. And I know that's my like go-to thing. Everyone asks my name, like I got to spell it because everyone always spells it wrong. But you can also find me at Instagram. I'm posting a lot of caricature work when I'm doing caricature cons and sketches. But you can also find me. So every month on twitch.com/Bill Drastal, I'm doing a monthly Draw Palapalooza, and I'm joined by other animation friends. If I can get them on, sometimes Meesimo himself. Kelly, open invitation to you if you ever want to join as well. Basically, I get together with a lot of artists, and we just play a lot of like drawing games, like stuff we used to do at the caricature booth, where we're just drawing comics one panel at a time, or we're filling a whole page of stupid doodles and just laughing and having a great old time with each other's company. And that is every month. Our next one is going to be Saturday, April 26th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be at twitch.tv/Bill Drastal. And then, of course, you can find all our work at www.chubbybeagle.com. Follow us for all the stuff we're doing with our studio. If you want to know about Maxi, go to maxi.com, maxxie.com. Find that as soon as we know where that movie is going to premiere, it's going to be there. We're going to let everyone know about it. So follow maxi.com. And then finally, please watch The Great North. We're hoping to get a 6th season. The more people who watch it. Last Sunday was an episode I worked on. It's every Sunday right now on Fox, your local Fox affiliate, or next day on Hulu. I could sit here and talk to people for hours. Like, no, wait.
Hey.
I want to tea coffee with this guy.
That's
No,
cool.
This was a ton of fun. Thanks so much for having me on. I would love to come on again. Maybe like if Maxie is out and doing well, we can do a follow-up or something like that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. For more information on our 3-day workshop coming up this summer, August 3rd through the 6th at the Highlights Foundation, visit cartooneverything.com.